It's I think that some of these things will take, I don't know, some number of years to build out. And then the question is, okay, well, if you, I mean, just to, I guess, put this in perspective, I think a gigawatt, it's like around the size of like a meaningful nuclear power plant only going towards training a model.
Didn't Amazon do this? There's like they have a 950 megawatt.
Yeah, I'm not
thing.
exactly sure what
Yeah.
you did. You'd have to what they did. You'd have to ask them.
But it doesn't have to be in the same place, right? If distributed training works, it can be
Well,
distributed.
that I think is a big question.
Yeah.
Right, is basically how that's going to work. And I do think in the future, it seems quite possible that more of what we call training for these big models is actually more along the lines of inference generating synthetic data to then go feed into the model. So I don't know what that ratio is going to be, but I consider the generation of synthetic data to be more inference than training today. But obviously, if you're doing it in order to train a model, it's part of the broader training process. So I don't know. That's an open question, is to kind of what the balance of that and how that plays out.
If that's the case, would that potentially also be the case with Llama 3? And maybe like Llama 4 onwards, where you put this out and if somebody has a ton of compute, then using the models that you've put out, you can just keep making these things arbitrarily smarter. Like some Kuwait or UAE or some random country has a ton of compute, and they can just actually just use Llama 4 to just make something much smarter.
I do think that there are going to be dynamics like that, but I also think that there is a fundamental limitation on kind of the network architecture, right, or the kind of model architecture, right? So I think like a 70 billion model that kind of we trained with the Llama 3 architecture can get better, right? It can keep going. Like I was saying, it's, we felt like if we kept on feeding it more data or rotated the high value tokens through again, then it would continue getting better. But and we've seen a bunch of other people around the world, different companies basically take the Llama 2 70 billion base, like take that model architecture and then build a new model. It's still the case that when you make a generational improvement to the kind of Llama 3 70 billion or the Llama 3 405, there's nothing open source, anything like that today, right? Like it's not, I think that's like, it's a big step function and what people are going to be able to build on top of that. I don't think can go infinitely from there. I think there can be some optimization in that until you get to the next step function.
Yeah. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit from specific models and even the many years lead times you would need to get energy approvals and so on. Like big picture, these next couple of decades,
sure,
what's happening with AI? Does it feel like another technology like metaverse or social, or does it feel like a fundamentally different thing in the course of human history?
I think it's going to be pretty fundamental. I think it's going to be more like the creation of computing in the first place, right? So you'll get all these new apps in the same way that when you got the web or you got mobile phones, you got like people basically rethought all these experiences, and a lot of things that weren't possible before now became possible. So I think that will happen, but I think it's a much lower level innovation. It's going to be more like going from people didn't have computers to people have computers, is my sense. But it's also it's I don't know. It's very hard to reason about exactly how this goes. I tend to think that in like the cosmic scale, obviously it'll happen quickly over a couple of decades or something.